What's up, guys? So, welcome to this conversation. I'm going to tell you right now, this is going to be the greatest conversation that you're ever going to listen to. So, lock in. We got the GOAT,
Buckle
Keith
up.
Mitchell,
Let's roll.
Master Guru, um, Master Yogi. Is that correct? Master Yogi? Am I saying it right?
That's what people say. I don't know.
Yeah. So,
I'm sorry.
it's okay, man. You'll have,
Titles, man.
yeah.
Titles.
I call you a Master Guru because it encompasses everything that you've taught me. The way I see you, like from the education side to the
Okay.
way I treat my body. Man, you got mad at me earlier for some of the vitamins I was
I didn't
taking.
get mad.
You did not get mad. You
No.
you educated me.
Yes.
Yes, but you've been a big impact on my life. You came at such a right timing too, and these last 4.5 years that we've known each other,
Yeah.
it's been a blessing to have you as a mentor and to have you here and have this conversation with you today on cameras, rolling this, filming it, high quality, 4K.
4K.
Man, this is gonna be one of those conversations that people in 2060 are looking back like that guy was woke.
Ah.
Yeah, so no pressure, no
No
pressure.
pressure. That's a lot of pressure. Jeez. Yes.
Yeah, so let's just get started, man. So Keith, thank you again for being on this conversation, taking the time to come to Alabama.
Alabama.
Yeah. How have you been, brother?
Man, I've been great, man. I've been great. COVID happened, and obviously we're here, and I just really got into a creative mode and just wanted to just create new things, man.
Yeah.
Pressure. We talked about pressure earlier, today. But, I feel that pressure, forces us to like do something different.
Do something
You
different.
know,
Yeah.
I always tell people, what have you learned through this experience of being in your quarantine and your COVID, during the COVID pandemic, and what have you, taken time to just learn about yourself through the process? And we have a practice called Vipassana where you isolate yourself and you put yourself in this moment and you just reflect, through the process, like 3 days, 4 days, and
Oh,
you
so
stay.
you're isolated for multiple, like it's not just isolation for like an hour, it's
Yeah,
multiple days.
yeah, multiple days. And so that quarantine time, in this Vipassana is to sit and be with your thoughts. Very interesting thing about meditation. I'm a meditation teacher that says, okay, thinking is not going anywhere. So what happens is we must develop this way of thinking. Or what happens when we think, learn how to develop the mind where our thoughts are more filtered from the standpoint of what we ingest, more quality things. And so, yeah, if you're going to keep doing it, you got to learn how to master it. That's a
Yeah.
beautiful thing, mastery.
Mastery, man. And you've
Yes.
been, so let me do a little quick background for the people that don't know. You've been out of the NFL for how many years now?
I don't know, I think, man, 14
About
years?
14
Yeah.
years. And then most of those years after the NFL, you lived in LA.
Well, I lived in Dallas. I kind of, so when I left the league, right, so I was paralyzed, so they sent me home. From Jacksonville. I had a home in Jacksonville, Houston, but Dallas is where my family was, and so I went there. And so I was there in Dallas for probably about 7 years before I left to go to LA.
Got it. And during this, when you say you were paralyzed, like you just say it like, because dude, if we worked out together today, there is not 1 ounce of you that's paralyzed.
Yeah.
It must have been, I'm assuming, one of the biggest challenges in your life. And take me, can we just talk about that for a second? Because you've told me the story.
Okay.
I've seen it. I researched it. I went on YouTube and found a video
Yeah.
when you had the accident on the playing with Jacksonville,
Yeah.
which was your last playing game.
Hmm.
What happened? You're paralyzed, and then what happens, bro? How do you get back to how do you get here where you're at right now?
Man, it's a long time coming, but I'd love to go through that whole thing of what happened. We were playing the Buffalo Bills, and interesting enough, Drew Bledsoe was a quarterback who was previously with New England.
Yeah.
And I was notorious for, getting interceptions, turnovers. I was linebacker, and I scored touchdowns. Every touchdown I scored was over 40, 50 yards. And so I had got him when he was in New England, and hey, we're at the Superdome. So I thought they were going to run that same play, 3 to the field and 1 to the boundary. Now I thought they were going to run that quick slant, try to fool me, and I was going to pick it off, and just like I did in New England when he was there, take it for 50. But on this particular play, they were isolating me with the running back, and it was Travis Henry. And okay, I was very fast. I ran a 4.40. I was 260. And so Travis Henry, okay, I'll take him one-on-one. And so I saw them, dropping off the ball to him, and I was a tad bit short on this play, and so we ended up in the collision. And on this particular play, I end up on my back, and I'm telling myself to move, and my body's not responding.
Oh, man.
Yeah. So I'm like, Keith, get up. And I had done this a million times, make a collision. I played at Texas A&M, and some of the hardest coaches, like Coach Mike Ditka, people like that. So I had been accustomed to hitting them. But on this particular play, my body would not respond. Yeah.
Damn, man.
Yeah.
Damn.
And so after 45 years, a couple hours being laid on the field.
Felt 45 years.
It felt 45 years. And they realized I wasn't going to move, so they moved me out on the stretcher. And I just never thought I would go out on the stretcher. It's a whole gladiator thing. I felt my first response really was, this is embarrassing. Get me out of here. I'm like, in yoga we call it shavasana, right? You're laid flat on your back, and you got 80,000 fans in the stands, and they're watching you. You're like in this vulnerable position.
Yeah.
And I had never been in a position like talking about vulnerability. I was like, man, get me out of here. This is embarrassing.
That was your first thought. Out of all things, it's not like, let me get better. Am I power? Like, it's embarrassing.
Yeah.
So even there, like, it's been a lot of growth in all areas of your life since departing the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
So then what happens? Like, is this something where you're like on a wheelchair, or is it how do you recover? That's like, for me, it's almost like a miracle. Like, how do you go from being paralyzed to, we worked out together today, and the way we worked out. This is not the first time we worked out together, but from everything you've been able to do, travel the world teaching yoga, teaching mindfulness, the way you move, like, how did you get there? That's the interesting part.
Well, it was a process, definitely. And for the paralysis, it was on the right side of my body only.
Okay.
Yeah. I still was in a wheelchair when I was they were rolling me around. I had this neck brace, but really I just isolated myself, man. I went home. I had got a cook who could cook for me. I kind of isolated myself away from my family. Someone taking care of me. I was just confined to one room. And so through that process, I was my own quarantine, as we just talked about, right?
Yeah.
So that was my quarantine. And through my quarantine that I was forced to go through, I had an opportunity to sit and think and be with myself.
Damn.
Yeah.
How did you, is this what led you to meeting Dr. Sebi?
It was one of the things, but before I got into Dr. Sebi, it was like, it was a book. Someone gave me a book, right? Of all things, I'm like, and I tell people, granted, I went to college, I read books, but this is really the first book that I really paid attention to. It was from Eric Fromm, The Art of Loving.
The Art of Loving. I've never read that book. I'm gonna buy it.
And then that introduced me to J. Krishnamurti, which is, Murti teaches the meditation of contemplation, questioning and answering, that whole philosophy and theory of propose the question and sit in silence to see if you're telling yourself the truth. Yeah. So that's why my whole message is around questioning.
Yeah.
Question everything.
That's you think that's a big problem with the majority of, society? Like, we just lie to ourselves?
Yeah.
Because the truth is like, it's hard to accept the truth sometimes.
But at some point when we want this transformation, we want to be enlightened or even know more, right? We have to be able to question what we know. And that leads to a biasness, right? And then from that biasness, we'll never get to the self-accountability. And it's not even about being perfect. It's about really allowing yourself mentally to be relatable to others, because we have, with this notion of how I treat myself, how I am with myself through my own practice of self-love. Well, when you come and you fall short, at times I can be forgiving. I can be more realistic in this dynamic of creating a more constructive opportunity for us.
Got it.
Yeah.
So how long were you, going back to your injury, how long were you rehabbing? Like, how long was your rehab, and when did you say, okay, I'm back? Like, when was that? How long was that process?
Man, that was probably about a couple months, man. It taught me patience. You know, you're talking about when you feel your body. I compare it to if you had to see yourself defrost. You've been frozen, and I'm seeing my body, you know, getting touched. You're feeling it in my fingertips, right? And I'm like, okay, why can't it go to my whole finger? You know, I'm like, I can't get frustrated and go and grab the Vicodin like they had for me, you know?
Yeah.
Because that was the solution in the medical world. And so I was like, I'm definitely not going down that route because in my career, you know, I would take those types of pills to deal with the pain all the time. And I don't want to go to an extreme with that. So, you know, it's just one of those things, man.
I remember one time you told me, and this could be off record, by the way, but one time this could be off record, but you told me, you know, during halftime you would pop in like 8 Advil, like nothing.
Yeah.
Like, all right, let's go.
Head numb, you know, head numb. And I would just, not even think of the consequence because I'm living in that moment. You know, it's a higher level, you know, 0.001% make it, you know, and I made it. And to that level, it's like, so you're at that pinnacle, you think you're invincible.
Yeah.
But in everything that we do, we have to realize there's a consequence, you know.
Were you so before you reading this book, during your, so let's go back to your career real quick. Were you into practicing like mindfulness and yoga? Were you into this lifestyle, or is this something that happened out of the blue after, you know, post NFL?
Well, it was something that kind of just happened. In regards of what it be spirituality, you know, my father's a preacher, so I was raised in the church.
So it was in you.
It was in me, and I was, as a kid, would question. You know, I would go, I have a question, and a lot of times the Sunday school teacher didn't have an answer for me, so she would allow me to present the question to the, you know, congregation. And a lot of times they couldn't answer those questions. You know, I'm like 5 years old, well, not 5, but like around 10, 11 years old, you know, asking these types of questions that the adults there that couldn't answer it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you had and your human design is your reflector.
Reflector.
That's part of, you know, you being able to, I mean, you're the only person I know that's a reflector. And those that, for context, you're listening to this, human design is something that you could use as a tool to know more about what works for you, how to be in with other people, how you can work with other people, right? Correct? Tell us a little bit more about human design.
It's another tool. You know, the thing is, I like to accumulate tools for my arsenal. So when I'm presented the opportunity, whether to deal with myself or deal with a situation, I'm prepared.
Yeah.
So human design gives me some other insight. You know, getting into nutrition, as we're going to talk later, is like we are another version of a plant.
Yeah.
So through certain times of year we're born, we're also born to create the medicine or the nutrition for the environment is how I see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, man. So if you want to do your human design, there's a free website, right?
Yeah, just go on free human design chart. You know, it's free. The only thing you need to know is the time of your birth.
The time of your birth, the city.
City and date.
Yeah, city and date, and it'll give you your birth chart.
Yeah.
And then, super interesting and definitely a tool. I'm a manifesting generator.
Yeah.
From what I remember.
Yeah.
And every time I do my human design, I have to call my mom. Mom, what time was I born?
Yeah.
Shout out to my mom.
Shout out to your mom.
Yeah, always showing support. Love you, Mom.
Yeah.
Hey, so okay, let's talk about. I really want to talk about our experience in Usha. I know you you were a student of Dr. Sebi. How did that happen?
So Dr. Sebi, so as I was at home in my Vipassana, I got an opportunity to kind of, you know, get on the website or search the web and like look for healers. And I was on a YouTube page and Dr. Sebi's information came up and it was a visual of him. I think Left Eye had produced something like this and just talking about it. And it just drew me in. And Dr. Sebi was so profound, you know, just the things and how he said and presented
His
himself.
Conviction.
Yeah.
His word is like precise, every single word.
Yeah, and I just felt I needed to meet him. You know, it's one of those things in me. I was like, Honduras. I've never been to Honduras before. I'm like, how do I get there? La Ceiba, Honduras. I'm like, I'm going. But I was like that, and mentally, I would see something like a place on television. I'm like, I'm going there. And so that just fed into when I saw Dr. Sebi, I had a conviction to go in to meet him.
Yeah. And what was your first encounter with him? Was it? Do you remember the first time you met him, and how did it? Like, I'm interested in knowing that.
Yeah, oh man, it's like at Usha, like there's people would come from all over the world. It was a prince there when I first went there. Just visiting Sebi, and so it'd be a line, and I was really, I don't think I've ever really been at awe with anybody. I played, high level at the NFL. I've seen like people like Walter Payton, greats that I admired when I was a kid, and I wasn't in the kind of awe that was of Dr. Sebi. When I met him, I was just quiet, and listening. And one of the things he said to me, one of the first things he says, humans cannot process animal DNA, and he said it with this authoritative voice, it's like it just registered to me. I'm like, humans cannot process. And so, being from Texas, man, I would never thought I would, not eat steak. I would eat meat 4 times a day, and so, cold turkey, I went vegan. Alkaline vegan.
That was a moment that you said.
That was a moment.
So that's okay.
Yeah.
I see it now.
It just went through me. It's like, all right, makes sense.
Yeah. And at the time you were 260.
I was 260 still. Yeah.
Yeah. And wow, man. So tell me, I want to know more about your personal experience with Dr. Sebi and you being in Usha Village before, because I got to go with you once Dr. Sebi had passed away.
Yes.
But I want to know those, 7 years that you were going before. What was your experience like? Tell me more about those experiences. What are some of your memories?
Man, it was just like he didn't run it like a business. He ran it like his family visiting, and like you got the nurses there. Everyone was related. I'm Dr. Sebi's, niece and nephew. It's like the whole family was there, and he had even his youngest child, Taiwa. She was like 3 years old, or 2 years old when I saw her, and then he had even a son who was 15 there.
Yeah.
And so I was like really in awe of him, and having somebody like that, I felt he was an icon. I felt he was a profound human that contributed so much to humanity.
Mm-hmm. How did he study? Like, was he like did you ever see him study, or like, was he out like?
When I saw him, he was more like he would just have conversations with people in the bedroom. Again, they would have chairs around, and he would just sit back. And, you just see on the YouTube page, he just sit back, laid back. He would smoke a lot of weed, but he would just lay back and have a good time. He loved engaging with people,
Yeah.
It's like he loved helping people. And I'd imagine since Usha being open in the late 80s, I would say thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people have come through Usha, and he's helped majority of them heal. Yeah. It's profound, man.
Yeah. What has it like? The fact that you've been able to not only heal yourself, you've healed me. And I've told you my story, but and we'll get to that in a little bit. But knowing his philosophy and how it works versus what is, I don't want to say the word program, because program sounds very like I'm not trying to convince anybody that we're programmed, but the idea is that in not only America, but pretty much around the world, medicine is not seen the way Dr. Sebi sees medicine.
Right.
So how do you see that? How do you work with that? Because you know the truth.
Yeah.
How do you accept that? Like, is it part of your mission to educate more people?
Well, just like the term you said, program. Well, condition is just program in a softer tone. Mm-hmm. But yeah, hold on. Say the question one more time.
So, you knowing this wholeheartedly, you've experienced it. Mm-hmm. Is this something that you have taken as a mission to educate people? Because you reached. When we first met, mm-hmm. the first conversation that we had was about Dr. Sebi.
Yeah.
And I was like, I want to go. I've actually. So I had heard about Dr. Sebi, mm-hmm. and I saw every YouTube video out there, listened to every form of audio, read all his papers. And then you appeared.
Yeah.
So for me, it was like, man, it's like I manifested this. Because the first time I met you, we were throwing a party for Leaders Create Leaders in the middle of New York City.
Yeah.
And here walks in, there's Gina walks in. Shout out to Gina.
Shout out to Gina.
Yeah, thanks for introducing.
She made the intro.
Yeah,
Yes.
so you come in with Gina, and you're like, "What's up, man?" And we connected about Dr. Sebi, and and this is me obviously assuming right now, but is this part of your mission, like educating people about the truth?
Man, you know, it was just, I was already on that path, sort of teaching meditation, then yoga. You know, naturally by that time I had committed to just like, you know, at the level that I had gone with sports and football, it's like there was nothing on the planet that really could equal that besides being a servant and giving and sharing with people, man. That's where my conviction went to it. None of the other things really made sense. And so by that time when I saw you, and I'm like, I'm just sharing the information because, you know, I gravitated to you kind of like I felt with Sebi, man. Like, you know, it's just, I feel good people, you know. I'm like, I need to know something. I need to, you know, be in a space with people like that. So that's where it was with our conversation.
Amazing, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what you've been able to do, just from the time that I've known you, the amount of people that you've been able to not only take to Usha, because you take people to Usha, you know, a couple of times per year.
Yeah, it was initially twice a year, you know, but we've been there 14 times now, you know. I think what yeah, so I mean, to be honest, I mean, I feel that's forever changed my life, man. I'm here and able to do what I do now because of learning what I gained, the knowledge of by being around Usha and Dr. Sebi.
Yeah, so let's do a little bit of just to put more context to Usha Village, because I don't think people, especially if you've never heard of Usha Village, you probably don't even know what we're talking about.
Right.
So let's talk about let's talk about first. Let's talk about duck plant first.
Okay. Now you're going to the very extreme.
I'm going to the extreme and then I want to bring it back.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's talk about duck plant. What is the duck plant, bro?
The duck plant. Man, you know, it's an orchid. It grows in the swamps there and around that Honduras, Nicaragua area. And how it was explained to me, and as I took it and experienced it, it's nature's version of chemotherapy. It attacks the mucus of the body. So for about 8 hours, man, it's going and attacking this mucus, it's purging it out of your body, and you are on your knees. You're on your knees, and you're just, you know, dry heaving if you're not drinking enough water, but if you're chasing it with water, you're just pouring out, you know, white mucus out of your body for 7-8 hours. Unbelievable.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so when was your first experience with the duck plant?
I've only done it once.
Okay, so you're going
I was only bold enough to do it once, man. Jeez, that plant, it was like when they were, you know, the nurses and my friends would come around and check on me, and they would just hear a loud scream, "No, get out, I'm good," you know, because you're just purging. Like for me, to be honest, I mean, you know, it turned white from the beginning, then it went to green, then it went to brown.
Yeah, the
because
mucus.
we don't think, you know, on the end of that, you know, esophagus from the mouth is your colon, your anus.
Yeah.
So, but that's why it plays a part, you know, because, you know, so when you're cleansing on that type of level, it's an intense cleanse, man. So you're just getting all that out of your body.
Things have been there for years and
for
years.
years, man. And then you wake up like the movie Avatar. Literally, your senses are in heightened, which, you know, they're in heightened. You're hearing things, people, you know, on the grounds there. You're hearing conversations outside that you're just hearing everything. You're smelling like, oh, what are they cooking? What kind of fruit are they, you know, having for us today? Like all these types of things are going on.
Like a baby again.
Man, like Avatar. It's like you're just rejuvenated. The most profound thing I've ever experienced, man.
Yeah, and from what I remember, you told me you got a small duck plant.
A small one, man.
And what was your reaction to that?
I was like, is this gonna be big enough? Like, I mean, I'm a.
Because everybody's got a nice, beautiful, big one, and you got like a little tiny one.
I tell everybody I must have disrespected it and heard me because it put me on my back.
Yeah,
it devastated me. Every time I would try to lay down, it would pick me up, get back, purge that out of your body. So, man, but again, it was just a profound experience, man.
Yeah, and I'm so happy that when I went there, I was so adamant about doing it. I was like, I'm not gonna come all the way to Usha Village and not take the duck plant.
Yeah.
So the entire time I was prepping for it.
Yeah.
So 9 days before me getting to Usha village, I was fasting. I was doing a water fast.
Wow.
Water with minerals. And then I got stuck in Miami, and I had a like a real small meal. I got stuck in Miami for one night before getting to Usha. I was supposed to get to Usha the day before,
Okay.
so I ended up getting the day after. But regardless, 3 days into the experience being in Usha, I already felt cleansed. I felt so good.
Yeah.
And I remember your story of how you told me about do not disrespect the duck plant. I literally put it there and I prayed to Jesus, prayed to God, and I'm like, thank you for blessing me with this duck plant, because the duck plant needs to be harvested that morning. They go and they go to the jungle. They bring it that morning. It's fresh.
Yeah.
It's
Fresh.
It's alive.
Yes, and you eat it
And
just
you
in
eat
that
it.
raw form. Yeah.
Yeah. So when you eat it, it takes about 30 to 45 minutes for it to start. You start sweating a little bit.
Yep.
Yeah, and then it takes you through this journey. And one of the things that I remember from my personal journey was these like minor little like split second, like microsecond flashes of times that I when I say poison myself, like me eating like 3 hot dogs and a burger type of, like those little moments would flash to me.
Wow.
And it was like these kind of like a PTSD type of thing, where my body was telling me like, don't ever do that again.
Wow.
Like this has been in there for years.
That's heavy.
Yeah. And I do remember the following morning, and I have a whole video of all this, by the way. And the next morning, I do remember, I felt like this I felt like a liquid was coming down my brain, like an insight.
Okay.
And I'm thinking like, it was a physical feeling. It was almost like there was like a fluid trying to still come out.
Yeah.
And it was a great sensation, though. It wasn't like nothing that was bothering me, but
it probably was, your thyroid just, flushing out.
Flushing out. My experience was a little closer to like 12 hours. It wasn't 8 hours.
Wow.
But I do remember one of the main things that happened for me was from the age of 12 to the age of, when I went there, I was 33, around there.
Okay.
Which is, about 5 years ago now, 4 years ago. I had severe allergies. Never could get rid of allergies.
Wow.
Anybody that would hear me speak, I always had my nose clogged up. I was always, literally like throughout my life, this is something that I thought it was just permanent. Like, I'm never going to get rid of this.
Yeah.
That was the last day I experienced that.
Wow.
That was the last day I experienced that.
That's amazing.
And my wife was like, I can't believe it took you so long to go to Usha. Like, you should have gone there like years, because I've been married to Susie since I was 17. So, she's the one that had to deal with me, like always like being clogged up.
Yeah.
And this is like not only during the spring. This is year round that I'm experiencing these. So for me, like just that one little thing changed it all. And then on top of that, my energy levels, my clarity, everything from my physical and mental being allowed me to do other more creative projects. Like, it leveled me up so much just by those 9 days that I was there.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for that, and the fact that you've been able to continue doing this without because I'm sure, like, there's, you probably do make some money from it, but it's not like, it's not, it's not like lucrative, like, you're becoming a multi-millionaire by taking, like, you're doing this out of your passion for the truth. Right. That's what it is. Is that, am I right? Or am I putting words?
No, it's just the things that I am on my journey. Things that are working for me, I share it with people. It's like I think the African proverb, "Each one teach one." When you find something that works for you, has worked for you, healed you, you want to share it to the people around you that you care about.
Amen, man.
So that's why my mother, my father, my sister, and other relatives have come. Multiple times. My mother took the duck, father took the duck, sister.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's like I love them. So I want to participate in them being here, not just here, but being also functional. So,
Amen. Yeah, living a high quality present moment every single time.
Yeah.
Okay, let's go back to Usha real quick.
Okay.
What makes this region of Usha, Honduras, so special?
I would say, I would go into the thermogenic water, man.
Thermogenic water.
Yeah, man. It's coming from the veins of the volcano, man. It's coming out hot. And it's got, what, is 7.6, no, 9.6 alkalinity. Maybe
Exactly.
9.7.
Yeah.
But it's such high quality of water,
And it's got how many minerals does it have?
Uh,
It's a high. I remember that somebody told me the number. I forget the number. So
it may be 102.
yeah, it
I would imagine. Say,
I think it was
complete.
less than CMOS, but
Okay.
it was around the same number
Really?
as CMOS.
Okay.
So during the process that you're there, you're drinking the water,
Mm-hmm.
and then on top of that, you're drinking CMOS twice a day.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Yeah. Well, yeah, twice a day.
Can you educate us about CMOS, just so people have never heard about CMOS before?
Okay. Well, CMOS is like you're talking about calcium, magnesium. It's really high in potassium as well. When you take in consideration our calcium, when we eat an acidic diet, all that glucose, sugar goes to our bones, and the biggest bones we have is our hip bone, and it deteriorates those bones. And so when we bring in a sufficient amount of like calcium, we get to regenerate those areas where the toxicity stays and resonates.
Yeah.
So you get to replenish some of that. And then the magnesium for the brain health, man. You're talking about a lot of our depressions and our mental health issues, really deficiency of magnesium. And so it's just profound in that. So as we go through the traumas of life and we transition to older ages, we got this sufficient amount of calcium. Our bones can keep us upright, keep us strong. You take even taking consideration the fiber of CMOS. You think of the ligaments, the tendons, the muscle, the internal organs. And it acts as an astringent. So it pulls these things together. So you get to regenerate that kidney, that liver, and so forth. So it's profound.
That's the real goal right there.
Yeah, that's the real goal right there.
Yeah. First time I heard about CMOS was this video of Left Eye.
Mm-hmm.
She's on national television, and there's an interview with her of her completing a 40-day fast.
Yeah.
And they ask her, like, what do you mean by 40-day fast? And she's like, well, I'm fasting on CMOS. And I was like, what do you mean CMOS? Like, what is that?
Yeah.
And then the second time I heard about it was you told me, Jeff, you gotta get on CMOS, bro. Your knees, they need some CMOS.
CMOS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And from what I understand, and correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Sebi entire, I guess, the foundation of his treatments start with CMOS.
Yeah. It has 98% density. So as soon as you take it, that's what really the alkaline concept. As soon as you eat the food, it's ready and available to your body. So the processing mechanism happens, which is so interesting because the reality is a lot of times in a Western society, we're eating ourselves to death. We're overeating. We take out of consideration that it takes about 3 hours to process the food that you're intaking. So you take in consideration the stress, where you're stressing yourself out eating foods that you can't even process. And then also it's going to clog you up. So you're talking about the aging factor, that's aging us by itself.
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting thing going back to the CMOS though, is the first layer of filtering your oxygen. And oxygen is our ultimate healer.
Yeah.
And so by opening up those lungs, you get that fresher flow of oxygen, man.
Yeah. Where was Dr. Sebi like sourcing the CMOS? Did he have a team that does that, or like, do you know any like?
Yeah, out of Roatan, they would get the moss there. And the interesting thing about that region, even as you break down the concept, because right outside of Honduras is Nicaragua, you got the black waters,
Mm-hmm.
the drainage from the volcano flows there.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's healing, man. I think of Egypt. I'm like, it all goes together for me. So the healing concept of the water, man, because really, air is mineral in vapor form. Water is mineral in liquid form. Food is a manifestation of what minerals are. It's the medicine. Just like equally, it's us. And this is why we have so much to give and bring to the world. When we learn our gifts, right, we can use it for that purpose.
Yeah.
Solving problems.
Yeah, exactly. By no coincidence, I feel you're here today. By no coincidence. It's like it's a mission.
Yeah.
And you know, whoever, if one person sees this video, that one person will make a difference.
Yeah.
You know, but if, you know, if a million people see it, I think also a million people will make a difference.
Yeah.
I mean, if you just in the last 5 years, I've seen, because Dr. Sebi was already an icon. He worked with a lot of celebrities, but I think with a lot of the work you've done and bringing awareness, you know, now we had like rappers talking about it, like Kanye's new album. He talks about Dr. Sebi.
Right.
He talks about it in different interviews. We had Nipsey Hussle, rest in peace. He was doing a documentary on Dr. Sebi. And a lot of the culture today, we went to a restaurant. We ate at a vegan restaurant.
And I asked, a good one too.
It was a really good one. I asked
Veggie, right? Shout out to Veggie.
Shout out to Veggie in Huntsville, Alabama.
Huntsville, Alabama, yes.
Man, that was so good. And I asked the cash register, like, hey, by any chance, do you know who Dr. Sebi is? Because it's a vegan restaurant. You know, it's like, if the cash register knows who Dr. Sebi is.
She was a young girl too.
Yeah, a young girl too. And she was like, yeah, she's like, I don't know him, but I know of him and I know what he stands for. So he's it's spreading, and I think this is for me, I feel like the best way of spreading this type of information is through these in-person experiences, because for me, I feel like even with all the videos that I watched, it wasn't the same until I arrived to Usha Village and I grabbed the mango from the tree and I had the full experience. Even the duck plant itself, like it kind of cemented this is the old Jeff, this is the new Jeff. And I think a lot of people need more of that.
Yeah, you know, the whole process learned me how to eat, when to eat, you know? You know, some people talk about and call it the intermittent fasting, but it's really the indigenous way.
The indigenous way.
We ate with nature. You know, we have our first meal around noon, 1. So you take that meal, realize the sun is at its highest peak, so that serotonin allows us to process and break down that food. So now by the sundown, we're producing melatonin, so the body wants to go into relaxation. So now we have a lighter meal, you know, going into our night, so our bodies can rest and take off, you know, instead of putting that steak into your body at 10 o'clock at night, forcing your body to pay and work overtime and not give it a paycheck. You know, so your body's like, damn this, you got some disgruntled workers down there.
Well, that's what I was saying. Like those when I was saying that, like my experience with duck plant was these little micro flashes of like memories. I was going to all those moments when I ate like at 2 in the morning and I stuffed myself and I poisoned myself pretty much. Like, why'd you do this to me, bro? Like, why'd you guys, like my body's like, we got to do this again every night. So, and unfortunately, like, it's just normal to eat. Like, you know, like for us, like in my culture, we eat big dishes, man. Like in Texas, bro, everything's bigger in Texas. You go to a restaurant, the successful restaurants, one of the main statistic is they have larger portions. It's not about the quality of the food, it's about the portion of the plate. The perceived value of what you're getting, and repeat customers come because of that. So
but that's also the capitalistic colonialism, you know, consume way. So you know, we've been conditioned and influenced by that. You know, so but really learning how to eat is a whole nother things, right? It's like it's a yoga and it's a meditation. It's another practice to achieve this idea of how can I, you know, develop and mature my mind. You know, that's why mindfulness is such a powerful practice, man. You know?
For the people that have like, because when I first went vegan. Was before I met you. And I struggled a lot because there was resources out there for me to like learn how to eat like the proper way. But I feel like the first 6 months, I actually got sick. Like I had like high blood pressure all of a sudden, I had cholesterol. Because I was eating all the wrong foods. Like I had the wrong vegan diet. So like what would be a good introduction? Do you offer something that teaches people how to go through this process? And I kind of already know the answer, but can you talk a little bit about Is it an in-person experience like the way I did it with you?
Yeah, we take people down to Honduras. We do retreats. We typically have about 20 to 25 spots, and we do a whole educational piece on what the lifestyle consists of, how to maintain it, how to sustain it, and even equip you with enough herbs to go back home and still stay on the regimen. You know? So we even do yoga, we do the meditation, we do the group talks as well. So it's like a whole body experience, mind, body, and soul. We get to actually understand what that actually means. So a lot of times we say things, but we have a sort of understanding, but then it's vague. So we get to detail that out for what it looks like.
Yeah.
And the body receives it, responds to it, and you see and notice your changes.
Yeah. No, definitely. And like I mentioned before, for me, it's been, I feel like I had like this kind of like a rite of passage where I became a responsible human being, a father. I became somebody more conscious.
Yeah.
I guess that's the word, conscious. Because even when I do, 'cause I still drink alcohol, or I still eat like the majority of Western foods. But for about 2 years, I was straight vegan, alkaline vegan,
Right.
which is
different.
Different.
Yeah.
I was at my lowest weight. I was about 148 pounds, which
Yeah.
is about 40 pounds less than I am right now.
Right.
But I'm conscious about this idea of, I don't want to say balance, because sometimes I do go overboard, and I don't want to lie to myself where I'm not as healthy as I want to be, but I'm conscious about it, and I talk about it, and when I need to act, I act.
Yeah.
When my body tells me, hey bro, like you need to, what's going on?
Yeah.
I get in the flow, and then, I'll go for a month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever so I can feel where I want to feel. And then I'll try to balance it out with.
I get you. So, but I want to make a point on that, because consciousness means aware, right? So it's not even about, the whole concept is not about right or wrong. It's just whatever the consequence is, if we do it, we can accept it. We're not the victim to it.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. That's why it makes so much sense to
become the observer.
Yeah, because it's not about right or wrong. It's just about, okay, I'm creating it. If it's happening, I have participated in it.
Yeah.
And to see it from that perspective, it's I guess we're saying that because in our culture, a lot of cultures hold a moral standard as if we have perfection. And then we look at the rest of the world and say, look at them. It's like we're flawed, they're maybe flawed, and it is what it is. No one's different or better than the other, in that sense, I guess that's where it really resonates with me from. We can see the world as it is.
And as far as is this, for you, was this transition from focusing on your physical, your rehab, to yoga, and then studying mindfulness? Was that all in the same trajectory, or was it all kind of at the same time? How did you become, a guru in being here, mindful? How did that happen? Did you read? Did you study with a master? How did?
Well, it's a couple things to that. I was familiar with possibility a long time ago. I had a coach who was an actual teacher, and he, how they coaches teach class and then they coach in the afternoon. It's he was that for me. And he asked me the question. He asked the class, I just took it personal. He's like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? And I never thought of it. But for the first time I did. I thought about it seriously in the heart. I was like, well, I see my cousins, I see people who are graduate high school and they're at home or whatever they were doing. And I was just reflecting on whether I want to do that or not. And then if my parents could even afford the college, And so I'm like, well, how can I do it for myself? And then the first thing that came to me, even as I wasn't even playing sports at that time, I want to be an athlete. And I put my mind to doing that. First, I had to convince my parents, and I had to go through the process of learning how to play the game, because I've only visualized myself catching touchdowns as watching the Cowboys play on television. I had never actually did that. So it was a whole different experience when you talk about Friday Night Lights, right? Because I started in high school. I never played Pop Warner Again, like the
Was
other.
that because of your father? Like,
Well, yeah, they wouldn't let me play. They thought I would get injured, and so
which they were right.
eventually,
Eventually
yeah,
got injured.
maybe they put that spell on me. I don't know. But anyway, shout out to my father and mother. I know they love me. But the thing is, I applied myself to like, what can I do to, see myself to this space, And that's why the mind is so powerful. So I learned that at an early age, about that. And I guess the other thing is J. Krishnamurti, man, the question, So the reason why the question is so interesting, it's like, don't you have a curiosity? We eat all the time. Do we ever think about like what to eat? Like why should we eat certain ways? It's a very interesting thing. When I was going through my whole paralysis, a nurse, she talked to me about conscious breathing. She says, do you know what happens when you breathe? The question. We breathe. How many of you who may be listening breathe? You know it's you. You know you breathe, right? If you didn't breathe, you wouldn't be listening.
Yeah.
But you breathe. But the curiosity of what happens when I breathe, and what I feel is if I can conceptualize the dynamic, then I can take more of the benefits because I understand it mentally. That's how powerful the mind. I feel the mind will deflect it if you can't conceptualize it. Just like someone's saying something that I'm like, you don't quite get it. But if you can conceptualize it, then you can have more of it. So on the inhale, the diaphragm pushes down. On the exhale, it pushes up. So we take about 10,000 breaths a day. So we're actually massaging our internal organs.
By doing it consciously.
And in those internal organs, we have the liver, the emotion of anger resides in. Kidneys, fear. The gut is worry. So we're detoxifying, relaxing that whole nervous system there. So think of it, you're just coming out of that massage. Are you going to be temperamental? Are you going to be chill? How's your mood going to be? It's going to be ease. It's going to be, compassionate, patient, all these types of things. We're going to be more in that align, So that's that's so cool about that.
One of the most impactful things this week, and this is something that I've always known, and I'm very conscious about it too, but it really came to awareness this week, spending time with you, this concept of I am and the power behind I am.
Yeah.
Can you tell us, like, just give me I don't want you to go too deep, but just give me like a little bit about what I am is for you.
Well, I am is like, who do you say you are? And who's answering? Are you even giving yourself a chance? Do you give yourself a chance to win? We're so quick to say, I'm not this, I'm not that. Says who? Why do you give someone else the power over you to say what you cannot do? I think the thing that really stuck me the most is when I went through my paralysis and the doctor said, well, you're not going to be able to play. Well, I tried to. I played one play. He's like, you may not be able to walk or run. I got that. I wasn't going to let this person put that limitation on me, So it's like I begin to understand that, how powerful the words are. And when you talk about I am, it's like, who do you choose to be? Again, we're creating this. And when we understand that through consciousness, right, the awareness, I have a power too. It's like for people, like I talk to my mother and my father, like, I know you believe in God, but do you believe in you? What can you do? Yeah. It's a powerful thing, man. It moves the pendulum to us. And it makes us and has us responsible to do and create the world we want to see.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I am light. I am great. I am powerful. I am almighty.
Yeah.
I am one of the greatest.
Yeah. And the thing is, it's not like you're ever going to not take an L, but we can learn from it.
Yeah.
It's like, in pro sports and football, we had this saying, have a short memory, process it, let it go. Don't hold on to it. You get, all you get from that is creating the same experience again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that, I feel like since maybe your father played a huge impact in you being mindful and also your human design.
Yeah.
But
My father definitely did. He raised me tough. My father's a military guy and a preacher. So it was like on my days off, like when we had holidays, my father wouldn't let me sleep in. You know, I had to get out and do something. Even if I was outside by myself, you know, my father was like not having that. But that discipline that he created in me made me tough. He was an alpha male. He's still alive with me. He just had his birthday the other day. But you know, he raised me tough. So it prepared me for the difficult moments that I didn't know I was going to face. You know, I feel sometimes in a way, a lot of men, you know, don't know how to articulate themselves. I had to learn how to do so. So in my process, I reflect on it, I see it, but they try to extend themselves in ways that they can. So he made me tough. That was his way of saying, son, it's going to be tough out there, you know? And so for what I feel you need to make it, I need to make you this. I have a lot of information like that about him in my book, is why I'm talking about that.
Wow. Yeah. When is your book coming out? Do you have a specific date for your book?
I don't have a specific date, but it's the Mindfulness Playbook, and it's going to be something special. It is something special, and I want you to check that out when it comes out. Yeah. Definitely. We'll get you the information for sure.
Sweet. Yeah. Can't wait to read it. I want to ask you, one of the main things I've seen in social media as of late, and I'm talking about the last year, 2 years, ever since probably post-pandemic, is this word of anxiety and stress. A lot of people are now talking about it more openly, like, oh, I have a lot of anxiety, I have a lot of stress. Do you have a practice for that?
Well, first of all, we have to break these things down. I think propaganda gives us so many symptoms. Like, I mean, how you could be looking at TV 2 o'clock in the morning, and they say, do you have this? Do you have this? You can be like, I did this the other day. I may have this. You know, it's just placebo effect that can happen in your mind, right? So, but at the same time, let's break this term down. Say anxiety, for instance. Anxiety is just not enough oxygen to the brain, so you need to breathe. So when you feel anxious, right, just breathe. And then stress. Okay, stress is the interpretation of the experience. So maybe I'm looking too linear, so tight on it. Maybe I sit back and just expand.
Expand.
Yeah. And so now you realize, okay, I can't go straight through it. Maybe I go around it to the right or to the left or above it, under it. It's just whatever. But it's like we're so like this and like I'm stressed. You know, it's like, no, just look at it differently. Put another perspective on it, you know?
I'm going to say a statement.
Okay.
And tell me if you agree with that. Stress is good for you.
Stress is good for you. You need stress.
Why?
No pressure, no diamond.
Ooh. No pressure, no diamond.
No diamond.
Yeah, if you want to get to that next level, every great, if you look at their trajectory, you only see the highlights.
Yeah.
But, you know, they probably lost their mind a few times along the way.
Of course. You know, I mean, we're here, like you think of, you know, getting muscle. You know, you got to tear the muscle to go beyond. You know, it's like how many times we run those, you know, those practices, those sprints and practice, and coach, you feel like, I can't do no more. And coach said, let's go. And then all of a sudden, you're like, okay, I got it. You know, it's like we have this idea. Sometimes we get a little lazy, but there's so much more we can have. We got to build that stamina, though, meaning we have to start that practice. Yeah. What is your practice?
What is your practice?
And if you don't have one, let's get one. We need one because we need these participants. Because this is a game environment. This is real life. So we need all the participants to show up, you know? So this is why it's imperative that we get a mindfulness practice, man.
Yeah, and that's going to be all covered in your book.
Yes.
And also you have a course coming out that's, you know, available.
Produced by Digitaljeff.
Produced by Digitaljeff and Rolando Sanchez. Yeah.
That's it. Shout out, Ro.
Yeah. And we had God on our side today. The clouds opened up. The sun was beaming. We had the perfect setting.
Yes.
Yeah. And you'll be able to access that fairly soon.
Yes, sir.
Let me talk about you as an athlete. You've always been an athlete. Are you still an athlete?
Certified athlete.
Certified athlete.
Certified, yes.
Yeah. I saw a video that went viral. You were on the video.
Okay. Talking
about what a real athlete is.
Yes.
What's a real athlete?
You know, there's levels to it, right? Just like, you know, D1 athletes to D2 to D3. Well, you know, there's a social media athlete that we have out here that's unproven, you know, untested. You know, an athlete goes out and tests his skills. If you're great, you feel you're great, let's come out and let's see. Let's get the greatest receiver. You're the greatest DB, y'all go one-on-one, let's see. The whole world's gonna watch this. And this is how you kind of get the meter of what kind of athlete you are. And if you hadn't done that, well, then technically you can't call yourself that. And then if you did, right, okay, well, what tier did you make, And then we can respect, it's all respectful. It's just understanding that there's levels to this thing.
Yeah.
And but I shout out to all the Instagrammers who do what they do, but it's just a little different.
It's a little bit different. Now, one of the things I remember from the video, if I'm correct, is the idea that an athlete puts his heart and passion on the line.
Oh, man.
And that's what really separates you from somebody just trying to look good for that.
Definitely.
The picture.
Man, we're going to war in our minds. It's like if
win or lose.
Yeah, if you're going to beat me, you're going to
it.
have to beat me all day long until I can't even walk. It's
That's
like,
an athlete.
That's an athlete.
Yeah, and so the answer to the question, are you still an athlete? Yes. That's just to have heart and passion in everything you're doing.
Yes. Well, technically, I don't believe in passion, though. The mindfulness concept is not to believe in passion.
Got it.
And the reason being is because how you do things is how you do it. I cannot compartmentalize life. I can't say I'm going to be, 100% at podcasts, right? And then the rest of my life, I'm just going to let it drop. Now, I want to be 100% 360. I want to test myself and challenge myself to push levels in all facets of my existence. That's a whole brain thinker. That's a human. That's the human capacity. I feel that's why they say we only use 10% of our brains, because we never develop the rest.
Wow. You just let it, yeah. We just get to a point where, okay, that's it.
That's it.
I think one of the biggest realizations that I had by myself was thinking that once I finished college, once I graduated from college, that was it for my education.
Yeah.
But the real learning for me has been outside of an educational system,
right.
Like not going to school or class. In fact, I don't even know how I graduated college. I already had four kids when I was going to college.
Yeah, you
and
did.
I had 2 jobs, and I was, shooting videos in the weekends for extra money.
Shout out to Jeff's kids.
Yeah, shout out to Jenny here listening, and trying to be a father, and my learning was more in practice, and like meeting people, for example, like you, and learning from them and applying it to become a little bit better at whatever it is that I'm doing. I'm not talking specifically about diets or yoga or fitness. I'm talking about everything,
right.
like that. This 360 mindset, and for me, I've always felt that I'm a type of person that if I master something, I lose a little bit of the edge to continue wanting to pursue it at a very high level. Okay. So, for example, I mastered photography, top photographer in Texas.
Wow.
Was able to book almost any type of shoot that I wanted.
Okay.
But because I mastered it, I didn't want to do it no more. I wanted to do something else.
Yeah.
And in that aspect, it sounds like, okay, it's kind of dumb for you to, it's a dumb decision for you not to be a photographer. I booked my last photo shoot in 2014, official photo shoot.
Yeah.
Every photo shoot since then has been through relationships, kind of like what we did today.
Yeah.
So my portfolio since then has been through relationships, but I was able to use my intuition to want to learn new things, which led me to meeting you.
Yeah.
I knew there was something wrong with my diet.
Yeah.
My levels were super low, and that was the most interesting thing to me at the moment. So I read the book of Nikola Tesla. I saw what he was doing to achieve his daily routine. I read the routines of Paramahansa Yogananda, and then I ran into Dr. Sebi's routines, and I was like, "Oh, doctors!" That's the one that hit me because he was very similar to my grandmother, and there's actually a connection there, by the way. My grandmother is from Mexico. And Dr. Sebi's original natural healer I forget his name now, but he's actually from Mexico, from the same area in Mexico.
Okay.
So I don't know if you remember the story of Dr. Sebi.
Of course.
When he went to Mexico and he healed himself, fasted for 87 days. So my grandmother comes from there, and it's the same philosophies. Like she was the first one that introduced me to this idea that you shouldn't eat past 6 p.m. In fact, one of the last things she told me
Wow.
was to not eat past 6 p.m.
Wow.
Like, don't eat, like, you don't have to eat after 6 p.m.
Yeah.
You don't. Like, erase that, like, you know. And
That's some good intel.
yeah, and this is when she was already, close to passing, when she told me this, and she said it like so nonchalant. We were just sitting next to each other, and she reaches over her shoulder and she's like, "You don't have to eat after 6 p.m."
Yeah.
That was a message.
That was
That's
a
everything
message.
she said. But yeah, so this idea of like 360 learning is something that for me has been a realization throughout my life. That's really gotten me to always be like, I know you don't like the word passionate, but I've always been passionate about, or excited about life, because there's always something else to learn.
Yeah, and back to what you're saying, it's like, again, when we talk about the knowledge, even if you don't have to go out and know everything, but if you do it, have a little curiosity about it.
Yeah.
If you're gonna do something, why don't you know how to do it to the best ability,
Exactly.
or like something around it, right? So it just gives us an understanding of what it is we're really looking for. So I think what you were doing with your photography, you were just adding the depth of your capacity. And I think the nature of it is to, okay, I learned that, I want to learn something else. It's the growth. I feel this is what we're here to do.
Yes.
That's why they say everything is consciousness. It's just awareness.
Awareness.
Yeah. What are you aware of?
What are you not aware of? What's
There you
outside
go.
the circle?
That's a good one too. What's outside the circle?
Yeah,
and then even that circle expand more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one thing I learned this week from Keith, and I'll give a little insight on one of the courses.
Okay.
Is imagine everything that you know right now. Everything, every single little thing you know, and draw a circle around everything you know. Right? Draw a circle, you encapsulate everything you know right now.
Yeah.
Everything that you know is truth is in that circle. Now, everything you don't know is outside that circle. And imagine what you can learn, what you can become, how much you can grow by tapping into that outside.
Yes. That's where we come into our own. We step into that greatness potential. You can go into any room and do what you need to do. There's a saying, if there's nine people in the room and only one knows why you're there, who controls the room? The one that knows.
The one that knows.
Yes. Because I'm telling you, if you don't have a practice, right, well then you know what you're gonna be sitting on, because guess what? We were sitting on it before we had a practice. Insecurity, self-doubt. These people are sitting here with the credentials, right? But it's not backed by anything. There's no brick and mortar there. It's just like you just blow on them and they'll just fall over.
Yeah.
That's how they're not standing in the four corners of their feet. You have to learn how.
They're not a real athlete.
I'm just saying, it's like that's really what we're dealing with,
Yeah.
I was on this, this, I don't know, it wasn't a podcast, but it was a whole board of professors, and they were talking about, well, we can't, we're not finding the students becoming leaders. I'm like, well, you can't become a leader from just a piece of paper. You got to go through something. Like you were saying earlier, you got to go through the experiences to learn.
To learn, yeah.
And if you don't have the experiences out in the real, deal, not the simulation, well, you can't have truly a confidence. It's all going to be pseudo.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
I guess to really put an emphasis on what you just said. You think if you would have never met Dr. Sebi, you would have been a vegan right now? Because he's the one that told you.
I wouldn't have been. I would have had high blood pressure. I probably wouldn't even be here with the diet that I had. I tell people I was, I don't know if it was just genetics or I had conditioned my body to just be. I was on 3% body fat at 260, and I'm eating like 2 Whoppers at a time from Burger King. I'm not shouting out Burger King, by the way, but I'm just saying, I would eat that, and I'm like, wow, I wouldn't even be here probably, I wouldn't be here.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And if I was here, I'd be in bad shape.
Yeah.
So
experiences, man.
Yeah.
This idea of finding 20 people, 30 people to go with you to Usha. Is it anybody can come, or is it how do you go about, because it's only 20 people, how do you go about choosing, or how does that work?
Well, a lot of times people have their elements. I think it's for people who want to go deeper, want to step into that role, be that, that greatest version of yourself. It's going to be that type of person. What we typically do is we interview them. We take, it's an email exchange. They submit, and we have a quick dialogue on that. And then, it's 7 days, so it's an intimate setting, not very many people. And so you get a lot of hands-on experience. And so we go through that. So, yeah, we love to have people who are on that, have that curiosity to go deeper, to really push that boundary,
Yeah, and
Yeah.
is it something where you have to be, because you said element right now, but like for me personally, I didn't feel that I was like when I went, I wasn't sick or anything like that. At least I didn't think I was sick.
Right, right.
But I came back 100 times better.
Right.
It doesn't really matter if you're sick, because it's more of a you being in this space where it is transformational.
Yeah, it is definitely transformational. You don't have to have an element, pathology, just have a curiosity.
Curiosity, it's what it is.
What can I eat what can I do? One of the things I can do to relieve some of the stress in my life, fuel me to go to that next level of whether it be showing up strength, whether it be mental clarity, just to be in that role, you need that. It's going to support that. So if you're in that lane and you have that in mind, see you in Honduras.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about one of the other things. And I'm going to like social media a lot just because it's one of the things that connects a lot of people. But one of the things I've seen in social media is this idea of like not being able to, one, love yourself, but also just cultivate love around you. Having good relationships with people, not only with yourself, but like, your father, your mother, your brother, your sister, your kids.
Yeah.
Is this like something that you speak about?
Definitely. It's my favorite topic.
Your favorite topic? Let's talk about that.
Because I always say, and I say it for a reason, because I feel conversation is a version of a yoga practice. And just like any yoga practice or any type of physical practice, I want to jolt your nervous system a little bit. I want you to feel something.
Yeah.
So I always say love is a figment of our imagination until we realize it for ourselves. We've been influenced so many different ways, whether it be the romantic things we read as a child, the movies, the songs. We're all influenced with all this BS. And so it's kind of jolted and just, we have our minds are cloudy around this topic, because guess what? You have a self-love day. And if you have a self-love day, what do you suggest psychologically when you speak these terms about the other days?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It makes it even worse.
Yeah. And so again, it's not for perfection either. It's the idea of seeing yourself a little bit more clear. So in the relationship that you're trying to create love in, it can be more manageable, because we have this 40% love with ourselves, right? And then we look at you, the person we want to engage with, well, you got to be 100%, and that's just insane. And we can't build from that. We have to have a level playing field to build from. And that's the dynamic of the man-woman relationship, in my opinion. So I started an intimacy mastery retreat with that, because we want to cover all up. Because, the first thing I'm like, why do you meditate? You don't meditate just to be by yourself. You meditate to be in the surroundings of other people, be relatable to people, So again, just like a yoga, conversations equally are the same. They're equal to me.
Tell me more about this retreat. Repeat that again.
Intimacy mastery retreat.
Intimacy.
Into me, I see.
Into me, I see. Got it.
Yeah.
So the intimacy is it a partner retreat, or is it like how does?
Well, some people, some couples come, but you don't have to be. Just again, someone curious. What is intimacy? What is this thing that you do that you? I'll speak for myself. Didn't know anything about, but I was doing it. And wouldn't it be interesting, right? If we're talking about, again, how can I step into the, the highest, greatest version of myself? If it's something that I'm doing, such as intimate as intimacy, well, let's know something about it. What do we know about this thing? Do we know how to touch? Do we know how to be touched? Do we know how to hold someone? Do we know how to breathe? So many different things come up in these conversations when people say, well, like, I can't have an orgasm or with my partner. I'm like, do you understand what orgasm is? If you're saying you're married to someone for 10, 15 years,
Yeah.
you're saying you can't breathe next to the person you're with. That's what you're really saying.
That's what you're saying.
Yes. You can't breathe. You're not comfortable enough to breathe to the person you got 2 kids with, married for 15 years with. That's where we are.
That's where we are right
Yes.
now. And that's, yeah.
That's where we are. So we need to do something. We can do something about it if you choose. And even if you don't, those who are listening, you can sit back and say, well, I created that. We're not the victims to it.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the horse who's tied to the chair, similar like to this one I'm sitting in right now. And it has the rope. The horse so powerful, but it's sitting there as if it's tied. You don't have to do that no more. Mindfulness.
Mindfulness. Let me say this. You said a statement earlier. It says, I think it goes like this: be in the front row of your life.
Yeah, don't be afraid to be in the front row of your life.
Don't be afraid to be in the front row of your life. What does that mean?
You know, it's like we have to face the music. Where the music playing? You know, where do we want to be? You know, you can, there's a saying, you know, when I die, heaven is going to be waiting for me, right? Well, why can't I have heaven right here? I may not show up in heaven like this, you know? I mean, why can't I touch it, smell it right now, and in this vehicle that I've been blessed with? Now, the thing is that we're sitting in this, we got this Ferrari vehicle, but we treat it like a Volvo or something like a Pinto or something. I'm trying to think of something Pinto. Yeah, we're treating it like something that's just, you know, got 2 gears on it. But we're this extreme entity, so much complexity. We're this jet, you know, that can ready to take off, but we just hold it back and say, I can't do this. Who do I think I am? I'm not pretty enough. I'm not tall enough. Or whatever it is you say. And we don't have to do that.
Yeah, that's it, bro.
That's it.
That's it.
Strong mind, strong body.
Strong mind, strong body. Tell me,
Jedi mind. We were saying that. Yeah.
Jedi mind. I'll never forget that. We're working out in Usha Village. Brutal workout. It wasn't brutal, but for me it was. And then I'm in one of my last reps, and then Keith just looks at me like, "You're gonna finish it, Jedi mind." I'm like, "All right, let's get to work." When did you decide you were going to be great? Is this when you had that teacher tell you about this 5-year vision?
Yeah.
That's the moment you said, I'm going to be great?
Yeah, because something clicked for me and said, I can do it. I can do it. You know, the thing is that when we stumble, when we put our step forward, and, you know, it's like, and we keep showing up. Because even as I'm going to tell you, I hadn't told many people about this. So when I first started playing, like I'm in the 9th grade, right? And so I had to lie to my parents because they would pick me up after the game because they were not coming to the games, right, at that time. They didn't want me to play and so forth. But I had to lie to them, say, yeah, I got 15 tackles and, you know, when I sat on the bench the whole night, my uniform is clean, you know, so I didn't have to take a shower. But, you know, I had to lie to them because I wanted to stay there, you know. I was a taller kid, so, and, you know, to be as soft as I was at that time, or not, you know, no ability at that time, I would get laughed at, picked at, you know. And so I applied myself, though. I'm like, I'm going to show up.
I'll be great.
And then it clicked. Things started happening. I was like, I can do this. It's like we're building confidence when we step out there and we keep showing up. I can do this. And I'm like, not only can I do this, I'm that. Game over.
Game over.
Yes.
And you've been able to carry that throughout your life?
All through my life, even with yoga. Yoga, you know, I thought I would get to the, you know, White House for winning a championship game. But now I'm getting an email from Michelle Obama to come to the White House and do a meditation for her event on Easter weekend, you know.
Wow.
And, you know, obviously Trump, you know, kind of shut that down. But nevertheless, we did that, you know, going to the UN to speak, talking about mindfulness, talking about meditation to diplomats from all over the world, being able to teach in Europe, in Asia, in Africa, you know. It's brought me and taught and took me all over the world. I never thought that could have happened. I'm just this kid from Garland, Texas, you know, with the idea that everyone would laugh at the time. But now, guess what? I get to laugh a lot. You know, so I enjoy it.
So the message to, so I mean, I guess the message here is no matter what age, because you had it, you know, you had a blessing that at the 9th grade, but somebody that's 25, 30, 40, can they still flip the switch?
If you got a heartbeat, you got an opportunity. That's all you need. Just set it, speak it, it'll come. Put one foot in front of the other. Step in that direction. We have this saying in yoga, I have this saying, if you can't touch the ground, let's bring the ground closer to us. And so through that practice of modifying that, I can move in that direction. I can still get the benefits, you know? If I can't catch the moon as I'm shooting for the moon, I catch the stars. I mean, come on. It's there, you know?
Amen. Yeah. You know, every day we have the opportunity to be great. We have the opportunity to risk. We have the opportunity to do something.
Right.
It could be something small for somebody, like impact a relationship, or love somebody, or do something for yourself. What helps you stay in that? I don't want to use the word passion anymore.
Okay.
What helps you stay in that level of, I guess, just of service?
Right. Well, the service is all it is. If, you know, we constantly have problems, and if you create a solution, we got 6 billion, 7 billion people on the planet. If you create a solution for a problem that 7 billion people have, well, guess what? You're going to always be busy.
Yeah.
You know, I say self-mastery is the highest form of gratitude. You know, it's like the saying, why say the prayer when I can go and do the due diligence of going and getting the food that nurtures my body? I don't have to say the prayer. I did the do.
Yeah.
You know, we have a lot of lip service out there. Let's do. I don't want to hear you talk.
Athletes.
Let's do. Athletes, we got to do. Because guess what? It'll be not for long. You won't be here long.
Not for long, yeah.
So I'm accustomed to that, you know.
Yeah.
So it's like lip service. Let's, you know, I hear you talking, but let's do. I want to see you do. And, you know, I had this conversation with my mother a lot. I'm like, okay, now that you know you've been to Usha twice, taking a duck, how you going to serve this, you know, this cake on the holiday to a relative that's going to give them high blood pressure, sugar diabetes? That's the kind of love you have? Come on. Yeah. You know? So, like, we got to think about this. Yeah. See, again, knowledge brings a self-accountability, you know?
Yeah.
You say you love? Well, let's see. Let's put it on the board. Let's see. What percentage? You know? And it is what it is. It's not good or bad. It's just like, where are we? And so we can realize where we're choosing to go or where we're choosing not to go. Self-accountability. No victims here.
Be the observer.
The observer.
The observer.
Study yourself. Study your movements. And position yourself to win. You can do that.
Yeah. Do you actually practice looking yourself in the mirror? I know it was part of I saw it in one of the modules where you're talking about this concept of looking at yourself. Is that literal?
Yes, because your body speaks to you. But guess what? It doesn't speak to you with the mouth. It doesn't have a language like that, but it has sensation. It has a protruding, a bulge. It has a ring around the eyes when you're not getting enough sleep. It has all these different things that it can tell us, but we got to be open to see and hear the language, you know? Yeah. So our bodies are telling us, so look at it, you know?
Don't be afraid.
But the thing is that we don't even want to look at ourselves.
Yeah.
We're denying ourselves.
Yeah, you're right.
I feel the person inside of us, you know, you hear this statement, I'm not feeling I'm being heard. I'm not feeling I'm being seen. We don't even want to be seen. We want to make love with the lights off. You know, it's like, see yourself, be comfortable with yourself. But the thing is that because we hadn't invested in ourselves a lot of times, you know, we choose not to because we know subconsciously what we're doing to ourselves, you know. So again, self-accountability. Yeah. It's not good or bad. It's just what is. And from what is, we can build.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
No judgment.
No judgment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gratitude. What does gratitude mean to you?
Gratitude means all of those things. It means living it. You know, live the life that you're talking about, you know. And then to live that life that you're talking about, you got to know how to do it. How to do it where it's going to be, you know, where it's going to be supportive, constructive for you, you know. Because you're seeing yourself, because I love myself, I'm putting myself or not putting myself in this situation, you know. Position yourself to win. Gratitude. Gratitude encompasses all of that. Yeah.
It gives you that spark.
Yes. Yes.
Into that curiosity.
Yeah.
It gives you the ability to serve. It gives you the ability to love yourself.
Yeah, but I want
everything.
to. Yeah, I want to go into this one though, because you hear this term. I think sometimes, when we talk gratitude, we also relate humility. That comes up, being humble, and I have a statement to that, and I say erase humble, right? Because you hadn't even started yet. Give yourself. I'm like, wait till you be Beyonce to be humble.
Yeah.
Be
I love
noble.
that.
Be noble.
I love that.
Yes, because
You just gave me permission.
Yeah, so when you're noble, you can see others without seeing, okay, they're different than me. You can see others as, okay, that's a person where they are, starting where they are, same capacity, same capabilities I have. They're just not choosing to do it yet. But cut this thing out of being humble. You ain't even started yet. Get in the race first.
Yeah.
Win the race, and then say be humble.
Yeah.
Jesus.
What are your thoughts on I don't know, we spoke about it a little bit earlier, but these are just a little bit off topic, but Kanye West, what are your thoughts on him, what he's trying to do with creating his own villages and
I like that idea. I think he needs to get some more insight, though. Bring some more people around him that can support him in that endeavor. But I think he's on the right track. I mean, I love his mind and how he speaks. Again, the victimization. Don't be the victim. You don't have to be the victim anymore. Let that go. Be the victor.
Be the victor.
Dominated. Yes. Again, a lot of times people can hear this talk and say, well, it's pseudo, it's facade. It's not like you're not going to have bad days. It's not like you're not going to take L's, It's just we take them in a different way. It's like Tom Brady lost, but Tom Brady is still Tom Brady.
Yeah.
9 rings or so, right? 9, 10 rings, maybe even more. I'm just saying, he lost the game, but he's still Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Be that, You're going to take L's. It's going to come. It's the price we pay, as we say, the rent we pay to be here,
Some of the greatest have the most L's. Mm-hmm. They have more L's than you because they went for it.
Yes.
They decided to be great.
Yeah.
And walk in those shoes of greatness.
Yeah.
And there was this saying that one of my friends, Braven, told me recently. It's called be, do, have. Be, do, haves. In order for you to have that dream life or accomplish that goal, you gotta do the things. Mm-hmm. But before you do the things, you gotta become that. Wow. You gotta become first. Yeah. And the majority of people have it the opposite.
Yeah.
It's once I have this, I'll start doing these things, and then I'll be that.
Yeah.
And it's actually the direct opposite.
I agree with that.
The moment you decide I'm gonna be great, and you walk into that, and even though you're not great yet, you're in the bench.
Yeah.
You're getting the reps. You're doing it.
Yeah.
Because
those reps are helping you and they're pushing you that direction.
And eventually you have. All Pro Bowl. Sacks.
Yeah.
Return pick 6.
Yes, sir.
50-yard pick 6.
Yeah.
Michelle Obama.
Just all of it. Yeah. It all just goes together. It's a frequency. It's a vibration that we hold.
Yeah.
And so now, the superpower that comes with that is magnetism. So now you attract it. You attract it. It comes to you. You noticing that. Yeah. It comes to you.
It comes to me.
Yeah.
You came here, man. I didn't even go to you this time. I didn't have to get on a 14-hour flight this time. You came to me.
I came to you.
Yeah, brother. So I don't know if you want to say anything else.
No, that's good, man. It's been a pleasure, man, having this one-on-one with you.
Amen, bro.
Yeah. We've talked many times, but I think it was even more free-flowing tonight. It was good vibes.
Good vibes, bro. Namaste.
Namaste, brother.
Yeah.